Hello everyone and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, and high voltage is back, but not as we've known it. This is a new high voltage mode, high voltage overdrive. What does that mean? What are going to be the best decks to play in this mode, and what new cards can you get by playing it? All that and more in this video. First, we've got our new card, the new card that everyone is most excited for. We'll talk about the other card that I believe is coming out in high voltage later on in the video, but we're going to kick it off. We cannot wait for Kid Omega, the Destroy card that was promised. A 2-1 Series 5 card that they're giving us for free, the first one since Cassandra Nova. Activate. Destroy the next card you play this turn to gain its power. That's right, so you activate this, and then you play a card, and it is immediately destroyed, and immediately that power goes to Kid Omega. Destroy decks absolutely love this. This is a way to keep like a huge Deadpool's power and then end up playing another one, or to do the same idea with Venom. Being able to do that is extremely strong. It's going to give you an incredibly powerful null. The best card, though, I think is going to be Nimrod. Nimrod absolutely adores this. You play a Nimrod after a Shuri, after a Symbiote Spider-Man, or after a Galacta, and you immediately get that power on Kid Omega. And you immediately get the 2 Nimrod copies. No Cosmos to mess with you. Armor can still mess with you, but that's really kind of it. No Cosmos to mess with you, and nothing else. The opponent's going to have to Red Guardian Kid Omega before the effect happens for this to really work. Kid Omega seems like an absolute monster for that kind of deck. The last thing that I think Kid Omega is really going to be great for is Elixir is a card that is now starting to become meta. Check this morning's video if you missed it. There's a Phoenix Force deck that runs Elixir that's really, really good, and I think Kid Omega is a natural fit there. Why not play Kid Omega into Cassandra Nova, get that power, keep that power, then you can Elixir that Cassandra Nova back. You end up with like a 10-11 power Cassandra Nova. You end up with like a 7-8 power Kid Omega, and you can still... and then, like, just everything sings together, right? Kid Omega seems like it's going to be a beast of a meta card. This new mode is going to be a must-play because you have to get this card for free. The deck I'm going to start with has been one of my most successful decks of this season. I call it Nimrod Omega. Kid Omega might be here. Surge might be here. Killmonger and Surge are the swing cards in that spot, but this is one of my most successful decks. All it needs to do is see Nimrod. Now, as long as it sees Nimrod by turn 6, because you have magic, by turn 6, if you see Nimrod, you destroy it twice, and you're good to go. The danger has always been, like, occasionally a Juggernaut on, like, a Symbiote Spider-Man will ruin your day, or anything like that. Kid Omega says, hey, that's not a problem any longer. Instead of worrying about that, as long as I've got Kid Omega out before, and I can play it on turn 2 or turn 3, I can go turn 4 Galacta, Symbiote Spider-Man, or Shuri, turn 5 Nimrod, and absolutely crush the metagame. Play this list, friends. I just want to be clear. Play this list. Like, this is going to beat the crap out of mid-range. All right, please, if you're willing to, please hit that sub, like, and comment. It would mean an awful lot if you help support the channel, where we bring you at least a Marvel Snap video every single day, and honestly, bring you more like 8 or 9 videos a week with at least a minimum of 3 new decks a day. Today, we are giving you I want to say like 15 decks across 2 videos, maybe 16, something completely wild. If you want more Marvel Snap decks than anyone, hit that sub, please. All right, so what's high voltage overdrive? It is up from 3 turns. It is now 4 turns with no snaps. So it's 4 turns. You just play the game, win or lose. You have nothing to lose by running away. Nothing to gain by running away. Just play out 4 turns. You start with 2 cards and draw 2 per round for a total of 8 cards. So each turn, players get the same amount of randomized energy, 2 through 4, and it compounds, but you don't get any bonus extra energy on the last turn. So the last turn is just going to be basically double your turn 3 without anything else. The big thing, though, so like that's a big difference, right? You're going to have an absolute crazy amount of energy on turn 4, almost no matter what. Because if you go 2, 2, 2, you end up with 8, then you end up with 16 on the last turn, no matter what. That is an explosive turn. Just wild stuff. You should end up with more than that most games, though. The big change here outside of that, because that's a pretty damn big one already, is you get 8 random cards at +1 power and -1 cost. Basically playing the mode, right? Every game, you're just going to get an extra 8 cards shuffled into your deck. And the ban list is going to tell us a lot about what they expect of this. But, like, Mobius and Mobius ain't banned. It probably should be. But Mobius and Mobius ain't banned. You can make these cost the most. So why would you want to play 8 random cards? Okay, so if between you and your opponent, there are 5 charges, 5 cards are played, there's a reactor, and the reactor will blow up. Each game, the reactor has its own random effect. It can be anything from destroy all cheap cards to put cards in play to transform cards. There's a million of them, right? Or a million. We'll go over all of them when we have the list of all of them. They're not giving them to us in advance, but there are going to be a bunch, and like they should all show up reasonably, like a reasonably fair amount. Sometimes you're going to want to blow the reactor up early. We interviewed Sam Stoddard, the designer of the mode, last week. Sometimes you're going to want to blow up the reactor as early as possible because the reactor effect gets stronger each turn. So you're going to want to destroy that right away so that your opponent doesn't get the benefit of the big boom later. Sometimes you're going to want to try and save it and get it as late as possible because it's really going to benefit your deck, and it's going to be this really cool thing to mess with. I cannot wait to mess with that. All right. In order to win, you just win as usual, winning 2 or 3 lanes. Cool. We also should have a Sanctum Showdown style shop. We know that we're going to have variants in it. We know that we're going to have new cards in it, so let's keep that in mind too. We'll be playing a lot of this mode to get all the free goodies they give us. We have a banned list. Our banned list is bigger than usual. We've got Eliath, good, which means we can do our stupid combos at the end of the game. Agatha, I'm sorry to the White Wayne Brady, but Agatha is banned. Arishem, all the big bads are banned. All the cards that put extra cards in your deck at the start of the game are banned. So Arishem being a big one here. I don't think Arishem is terribly important to be banned here, but Arishem's pretty strong. It would only give you 2 turns of +1 energy, so maybe it's not worth it. But hey, it's gone. Black Widow, you cannot stop draw as usual in this mode. Darkhawk, because adding an extra 8 cards in your deck means that this deck is going to be completely and stupidly huge, so Darkhawk's great. Cassandra Nova should be the same basic thing. If there's 8 extra cards, Cassandra Nova is stupidly huge. Now all the cards have -1 cost, so that's gone. You have 8 extra cards in your deck, so that are created, so Gorgon takes care of that nonsense. So we got Gorgon banned completely. Galactus, because that would sort of tilt the whole game mode. You randomly get 6 energy turn 2, and you basically ruin the mode with Galactus, so no dice. Magic 2, there's going to be no turn 7, cut that out. Kang, we're trying to go through fast modes. I hate that Kang isn't here. Kang is so cool in this type of mode, but we don't want to waste time, and so Kang is not there. Thanos, thank God, is gone. Who wants to deal with Thanos playing a million free stones and then just dropping a million 6-power things at the end of the game? No, thank you. Ooh, I bet you Lockjaw Thanos would have been really good too. Mysterio is gone so that you don't get to just like, you're already have generated cards, so it seems like Mockingbird's going to be really good. But, let's not Mysterio with that too. Mysterio also is always funky in terms of like how it works with modes and ends up with crashes. Quinjet would give you 2 discount on all your generated cards. We don't want that. Agamotto, no generated cards, damn it. We do have Merlin still fine, but no Agamotto. And no Loki. You can't just take your opponent's deck at -2 and ignore all the charged cards because that wouldn't count the charged cards. No to Loki. So there is a reasonably thorough ban list. I would not be surprised if this is updated to add Mobius and Mobius relatively soon. Last time we had High Voltage, the most effective deck. The way we're going to do this is we're going to look at the 5 most effective decks at the last Voltage, and then 5 more that I expect to be really top contenders. I'm also going to make some suggestions to make these decks heavier or more expensive, because I do think we're going to have fundamentally nearly unlimited energy at the end of the game. But this was the most winning deck at the last High Voltage. It absolutely crushed. It was the top deck. It was a force to be reckoned with. So, this deck doesn't actually need any high series stuff. In fact, if you look back, Zemo is the only high series card even here, and Zemo was never important. It could just be replaced by Negasonic. I do think we're going to want to make these decks more expensive, though. So the cards we're looking at adding, or I'm looking at adding, are Gilgamesh and Dr. Doom are where I'm starting, and if everyone is not running Mobius, then I would start to consider to add Mockingbird too. I think all 3 are very easy adds to this list, as we end up with... as we end up with just a ton of power all along the board, and having some extra big stuff is great. Professor X seems like he's going to be really silly here. I don't expect a lot of move to be very effective here. And if move isn't effective, Professor X is still kind of a monster. And the new card that came out is... Mercury, and Mercury could easily slot into this deck as yet another ongoing card, which should give us an extra way to like make our Professor X lanes win. If we can do that, then this ongoing deck, the other real tier 1 deck last time we had Voltage, should absolutely be a monster. There's ways to make it heavier, again, more expensive, but I think Iron Man is, the reason it's in the thumbnail is I think Iron Man is going to be an absolute beast. Iron Man is one of the few cards on Marvel Snap that lets you go so tall that the opponent just can't touch you, and I think Iron Man in this mode is going to be killer. So what's better than Iron Man? Iron Man copied by Mystique and then Moonstoned, right? We can do lots of stuff that way. So this needs Sam, Goliath, and Moonstone. I think you have to have those 3 cards to play this. We can end up running Lots of cards here. If we want a cheap card, we can add Mercury because Mercury seems very, very strong here. We can also add cards like Iron Lad to give us a little bit of extra seeing cards, Claw and Onslaught, two other powerful cards, Onslaught on Iron Man, Onslaught on Mr. Fantastic, Iron Slung copy my Mystique, all of that seems really, really strong. If everyone's running Enchantress, we have Cosmo, but maybe we have to switch off this for the time being. The one other big question I have is, do we actually want Ebony Maw? If there's only 3 turns, Ebony Maw is incredible because you play it on the last turn, turn 3, and it's totally fine. But if there's 4 turns, now there's an actual cost to Maw, so maybe Maw becomes one of our heavy cards. But outside of that, this one puts up a shoot ton of power while also just being a functional deck. From here, we're going to go Toxic Surfer, and I would be shocked if this one wasn't amazing. If people aren't playing Luke, this seems like a monster. Hell, I'm strongly considering adding Gambit to it. But what this ultimately does is say, I've got Luke, I've got Wong and Mystique, and then I've hazmatted, and all your stuff is a million negative, and my stuff is totally fine. You can also just make your stuff really big with the Silver Surfer. So this was tier 2 last voltage and yet another budget deck. You might notice there are no high series things in this deck, except Grandmaster, who I added. This deck was running Cassandra Nova, I put in Grandmaster. That could easily be a more expensive card like Electro Gwenpool, or you could add the aforementioned, the previously mentioned Gambit. So we have lots of options as far as what could go in that extra spot here. Next up, we've got Last Voltage's Big Patriot list. This is sort of like that first Patriot list, except instead of going all in on Patriot and Infinity Ultron, it's running just a bunch of powerful stuff. And this is another one that I think could be really good. I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure. I think I said we need Wiccan. Yeah, I'm not sure we actually need Wiccan because we have so much more energy in this mode. Wiccan was absolutely incredible in previous versions of this, right? But I don't think we actually give a crap about Wiccan at all if we've got so much other energy so many other ways. So like Wiccan could easily become Mercury, we could easily start running more expensive stuff, but this is just like a good stuff list, right? We've got Shang-Chi and Cannonball in order to put up a ton of points. You got Copycat to take their good stuff, Negasonic because if they're playing expensive stuff, let's blow it up, Juggernaut to try and win on the Jeep, Magneto because if they're trying to go mid-range, we can clog the crap out of them. This one is like a voltage exclusive list that I don't even know if we need to make significantly heavier. So this needs Cannonball, Galactic, and Wiccan. This was tier 2 last time. If I had to pick one deck that's likely to jump up to tier 1, this would be it. Copycat is obvious, and we could obviously add Mercury, and then we could try and fit Fenris Wolf too. Once more, Onslaught makes sense as an expensive card, as could Blue Marble or Khazar. I.e., excuse me, wrong way. If we do add that Onslaught could hit Claw, that Onslaught could hit Patriot, we could add one more ongoing card and really, really go to town with that Onslaught on top of everything else this deck does. I think that this one is very promising, and this is going to be one of the very first decks that I start with in the new mode. Next up, we've got the Voltage 10s list. The last of the Tier 2 list is the simple 10s list. Sauron was much better last time we did this, since he has been moved to a 1-3, but it's still fairly effective. I think that we could basically cut most of the bottom end here. We want to keep Sauron and 0, but we can cut Zabu. I don't know if we need Ebony Maw. I don't know if we need Lizard. And we can just go bigger and bigger and make this an absolute monster of a deck. So I think Skaar, Starbrand, and Surtur are going to be needed. I think Surtur is going to be stupidly, stupidly huge in this mode. He was always good in Voltage, but now we've had an extra turn to feed him 10s, and I think that Surtur is just going to be stupid. Cull or Ares can be Crossbones. You can also just make some of the cheaper stuff Crossbones. We can also consider Shuri and Taskmaster, since we should have so much energy. Surge is good in a lot of different versions of this. And hey, I'm not going to cover it now, but Nightmare comes out tomorrow. Nightmare in this list seems absolutely amazing. You don't want a Nightmare Skaar, but Nightmaring basically everything else in this list, except maybe Ares, I guess, seems completely freaking insane, seems utterly stupid, and that's what we want to do. Cool? So that list is going to be really, really good. But we got to quickly stop and go check me out tonight. I'll be streaming around 8 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. We got to cover this new mode and play all these decks. So if you want to see these decks in action, stop by the stream tonight at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. Our season pass question is real simple. Are you excited for the new Voltage? We give away a season pass a week every week here on the channel, except that the new shop doesn't let me do that. So instead, I've got some PAX codes, and for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be giving away a PAX code every week. So Andrea Calusi, P2G, you are the winner of the PAX code. Please reach out through email or on Discord or on Twitter in order to claim your PAX code. Cool? Check out our stream as well at twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. Don't forget. Next up. The best deck on ladder right now, I'm not sure is going to work in Voltage, but generally speaking, whenever one of these modes comes out, whatever's really good remains really good. It usually needs some updates. Sanctum being sort of the exception, right? The deck usually needs a little bit of update, but once you get that update, it ends up being the top deck. And right now, the best deck on ladder by sats is MSL Chamo's Mr. Sinister List. If you want a ladder guide to this, it'll be in tomorrow morning's video over on this channel. So all you have to do is sub there, ring that bell, don't miss it. The video comes out at 8 a.m. Eastern every day. But this is right now the best stats in the game, and I think it will continue to be the best stats as we go forward into this mode. It's going to need some edits. I do think we want Galactic Gwenpool and Gladiator here. Surge, Zabu, and Merlin, I don't even think we want necessarily here. I might want to keep Merlin to make like a 4 or 5 at the end of the game. But Negasonic, Captain Marvel, Kate Bishop, Kahori, Cannibal, and Mercury, we're looking at stuff like that for the deck. We can easily go more expensive and just run like, I think Captain Marvel is going to be amazing in this mode, especially if she can be buffed. Kate and Kahori seem like a really good way to generate a lot of power, as like we can hold stuff till later in the game because we have explosive late turns. So adding extra cards to hand means Kahori will buff whatever's on the board very, very effectively. Cannibal and Mercury seem really good. I'm also curious how Hori and Shaw are going to work in this mode, because I should be able to do that relatively powerfully as well. Cool. Next up, we got Negative Destroy. Negative Destroy is right now the top destroy the top negative once more. Again, I'm not 1,000% sure we care about negative, and I know we don't care about Ravonna, and I had to delete magic. All of that being said, if I can drop a negative into a Jane, I feel like I'm going to put up so many points nothing can mess with me. In addition, I've got a million Shang targets, right? This mode seems like Shang targets the mode, which means that Zola on Null is going to be even bigger than usual, or Zola on Gore and playing Null is going to be even bigger than usual. I can copy that Gore or Null by Taskmaster as well. Taskmaster is what I put in over Magic, and I should have the energy to do all these things, giving me more points than fundamentally anything else in Marvel Snap. We could run some like extra Wong Sage nonsense here as well if we really want to get cooking. I think that Negative Destroy is very likely to be absolutely a monster here. This is right now, I think, the top Conquest deck in the game. So if you think this mode might be more like Conquest than Ladder, this is what I'd go with over the Chamo. This deck does need Gore and Esme. This deck had Magic, but Magic is banned, so I put in Taskmaster. And Ravonna can be Sage, Wong, Panther, any card along those lines. I am partial, by the way. I'm going to start by running Sage, but I have a feeling the right answer might end up being Black Panther. All right, next up, we've got a few different early on in the last Voltage, this was the best deck at in a smaller sample at 68% win rate in 100 games. So that's a smaller sample, but I do think that this list is really, really cool. It offers a lot of power, and I love playing Infinity Ultron, so this is a great way to play Infinity Ultron, buff all the Infinity Ultron stones. Yes, the Quinjet is banned, but I don't think it matters because we should have so much more energy, and just use those Infinity Ultron stones with the Doombots and everything to make Mockingbird cheap. We've now got a cheaper free Mockingbird. Marvel Boy buffing all of our Shauna nonsense, Magneto to mess things up. Again, a monster of a deck. Doing largely, just here's what's good in this mode play patterns. This one is 68% rate sleeper from the last Voltage. It needs Infinity Ultron, Marvel Boy, and Mockingbird. Makari, Galacta, Shadow King, and Shang-Chi are the replacements. I do think that I might want Shang in this deck. Next up, we've got the best sample size. This was from Untapped data. The other data was from Marvel Snap Zone. The best data from Untapped was this sort of 68% and 250 good stuff version of a list. Again, I don't think we really need Wiccan here, but Galacta and Gwenpool are March 22nd. Yeah, this is the top win rate from 2 voltages ago, not the most recent voltage. Galacta and Gwenpool, I think, are still required. Wiccan can be Captain Marvel. Gore can be Red Hulk or Magneto. Red Guardian can be Enchantress or Rogue. Zemo can be Negastatic, and Iron Patriot can be Cable. This is like good cards, the voltage version, which means that we might be able to make this a little heavier, running an extra 6-drop, running like a Wiccan, a Fenris Wolf or Cannonball into a Mercury type combo. I think that this list, however, is kind of a monster. Mirage has always been great in this mode. Iron Patriot gives you a big card, and like if it doesn't get discounted in this mode, who freaking cares? There's a lot of really, really cool stuff here. Again, this is just like, this deck is almost perfectly made for this mode. We'll see how much more expensive it needs to get as we go forward. All right. Next up, we got Disco Voltage, and Discard was the best in the very first Voltage, and then they banned Gambit. So I'm very curious to see if we can bring it back with the most recent addition being Khonshu, and see if this list still works in High Voltage. I'm very excited. I think that's going to be great. If everyone's playing expensive stuff, then Gambit's incredible, and Discard is, despite like Gambit combo stuff, the best home for the deck. I do believe there's going to be a lot of Cosmo, but I can drop Gambit and immediately Grandmaster and take out important cards of my opponent left and right. I can compete in points with almost anything because I have Apocalypse and Dracula in the deck. I can hopefully play a Khonshu on round turn 3, getting myself an extra 12 power card, and then still be able to like do Modaki nonsense turn 4 to get a huge Morbius, get that Apocalypse big and Dracula, and go to town. So this is an update on older top Voltage with Gambit being back. I do think we want Khonshu and Scorn here. We could try without Khonshu, but I don't think it works. If we don't have Grandmaster, we run Wong. I am worried about Wong here. The reason we're not seeing the heavy unrevealed thing is because I do expect a lot of Cosmo in the mode, because I think Wong is probably the most immediately obviously powerful thing to do. Proxima Midnight can be Moon Knight or Swarm here. All right, that's our list of best Voltage decks. Sorry, before we go forward, we're going to talk about Cobra, the new card that's coming, but this is our list of best Voltage decks. And now, Cobra. Cobra is the Series 4 drop coming in this Voltage. He's a 2/3, activate, destroy an enemy created card here, and that's really, really good against like Arishem and Victoria hand decks, but we need a way to use it to our benefit every game, not just other times. So the best way to do that anyone's come up with that I know of is Luna Snow, because what you can do, and Den says this is Den Hearthstone's deck. Den is the head writer at Marvel Snap Zone, so what you do is on turn 2 you go Cobra, on turn 3 you go Luna, and you can immediately destroy the opponent's Ice Cube, giving you +1 energy and not the opponent, which makes Cobra worth it. There's times you're not going to want to do that, right? If your opponent's Arishem, or you can get a really big and powerful important card, you'll want to save Cobra for that. But the option to have that, to be able to do that with Cobra, seems really, really strong. That's his main use in this deck. The rest of the deck is just like, where do we want Luna Snow? Well, Luna Snow is extremely important with Infinity Ultron. Those cards go amazingly well together. Because you really want to ramp into Infinity Ultron. Okay, so what goes with Infinity Ultron right now? What goes with Infinity Ultron, generally speaking, is this Kohori Gwynpool Galacta list that's been floating around. Why? Because it runs Kate Bishop and Merlin. Kate Bishop and Merlin add cards to your hand, as does Infinity Ultron, which means Kohori is often great. Seems really good, right? We are now running Merlin, so what can we do with, once we've used Cobra, sitting there with a 2/3 isn't great. Why not turn that into a 3 power card with Merlin, or shuffle it into your deck for extra energy? Everything here really synergizes well, and I think this is fairly likely to be our best Cobra deck. That's almost it. Question of the day is just going to be very simply other decks I'm excited to try. I want to try Bounce. I want to play ones and bounce them, and then play a bajillion cards with 18 energy on the last turns and Hitmonkey. That just seems like a blast. I'm not sure it's going to have enough power, but the version that Derek won the first Golden Gauntlet with that runs Iron Man does seem like it would be particularly powerful in this way. In addition, I'm going to bother Doc Guapo for you relatively soon, because I think one of his Frigga versions that goes kind of nuts by playing Frigga should be very, very good as well. There's also possibly a full Gambit combo where we go Wong, Mystique, Gambit, and should be able to win. I think that a Dakin version of that deck should also be really good, because if I'm running Wong, I should be able to get a million Dakin shards, then I can then Zola and play as well. So I think a full Gambit Dakin combo is a really cool deck. I have no idea if it works, but it is worth messing with. Next up, we've got Buff Surfer. We've already got all these buff cards in the deck, right? So why not go further in on buff in terms of Buff Surfer, which has always been one of my favorite Surfer archetypes. Yes, I am talking about running Nakia in this mode. Why do you ask? Because I'm going to fill my hand, right? I'm not going to play stuff for as long as possible, and then I'm going to play Sarah, and then I'm going to play a bajillion 2-drops on the last turn. If I've got 18 energy, I can play 9 3-drops at the end of the game. I mean, I can't, because I don't have enough hand size, but you get the idea. I can play a million 3-drops at the end of the game, right? So if I can do that, then I can play Nakia earlier, or Fastos earlier, for like this insane freaking value, and I love that idea. Wong Panther on reveal, sorry, that should say on reveal. Wong Panther on reveal stuff with like White Tiger should be relatively strong here. I am again worried about the sheer amount of Cosmo that could be happening, but I am excited to try that. And then, of course, we have Zoo. Zoo has always been really good in this mode. It's never quite the top, because the Patriot stuff is just better. +2 buff is better than +1 buff, but Zoo does seem like it could be really, really good here. Certain tier support on our Patreon come with on there. Thanks. If you're interested in checking out our Patreon, check out patreon.com/snapjudgments. Our patron of the month is Bricks2Click. I'm going to say thank you to Abigail Keeson, Mandatory Burnout, It Regardless, LAB Inc., I Am Frostman, Hota Neverete, Prime Ryan, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood Snap, Ren Wrench, Kertixley, Koire, Kazushi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Profos, The Goat Seeker, Code, Hallowed, Only Fox, Synth, Bad Nick, Absolute Shannon, Nightmare, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Philip Brackfitch, Haplo, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, The Beza, Black Cubes 23, Xers V, and Skippy G. Jessica Gamble, Mr. Slusha, The King Bros, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kepsi Hoda, Clam, Colonel Forbin, Rob Sullivan, David G. Wingfield, Steven, Brian Coffin, Tristan H. Martin, Jason B., Mr. Greg Sterry, Bat V, Corey, Corwin, John Q, Jimmy Q, Yes Out, Ace Age, One Big Man, Bookman for Reals, Cactus Shack, Reapster, Yo Marco, Quid Bro, Joe, Snap Decisions Joe, Carlo 220, Models Master Supreme, Bikini Boom Bot, Green Goblin, Unibot V2, Flan 56, Lee Fuzzing Up, Spectrum Mix, Hoot, Ocularis, Matt H, DJ Mike Ajix, No Freaking Flex, Nick the Greek Geek, Toxic Soul King, Zodrix, The King of Canada, JJ, Denman, Falcon, Falthor Newman, Jonesy Snap, Two Ties, The Great Bloodhounds, The Pirate King, Tucker, and of course Gunny T. The T stands for That's It for today. Tomorrow we've got amazing decks for you. I don't want to spoil it, but it's going to be really cool. And tomorrow's yet another 2-video day. So if you want more Marvel Snap than content than anyone, keep it here, and I'll see you then for more. Peace.